Alexandra Eala replaces Zheng and has to withdraw due to injury, but fans can now look forward to seeing Alex step.
Ranked 46th in the world and handed a direct main draw entry into a WTA 500 stacked with 7 top 10 players. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix officially confirmed that Alex Eala would step in as a replacement for the injured Yung Chinwei, and just like that, the Filipino found herself walking into one of the most competitive draws on the entire clay season calendar.
Has never happened to me before.
Obviously, such a good player.
Right there in the middle of Stuttgart's star-studded field. And within hours, the business calculus of professional tennis began shifting in ways the WTA was simply not prepared for. While tournament organizers scrambled to update their draw sheets, Filipino fans spread across 3 continents were doing something else entirely, mobilizing, organizing, and preparing to turn Stuttgart into the latest battleground of the Eala effect. Yung Chinwei withdrew injured, and the 20-year-old Filipino stepped directly into a field featuring Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, and Elena Rybakina. Her first-round opponent, Leylah Fernandez. A lefty versus lefty battle carrying a resonance that runs deeper than tennis. Fernandez, of Filipino-Canadian descent, standing across the net from the player representing the Philippines itself. Days earlier, Eala had fallen to Elena Ostapenko in the second round at Linz. Now she was handed a premium indoor clay stage at one of Europe's most prestigious spring tournaments. The announcement came with a standard corporate courtesy. Tournament officials posted to social media. Alexandra Eala replaces Chinwei Yung in the main draw. Unfortunately, Chinwei has to withdraw due to injury, but fans can now look forward to seeing Alexander step in. Professional, polite, procedural. But beneath that calm messaging, a commercial earthquake was already beginning to rumble. Because the WTA and Stuttgart organizers were about to learn what Indian Wells, Miami, and Linz had already discovered the hard way. When Alex Eala enters a draw, the normal rules of ticket demand no longer apply. The institutional tennis world operates on a simple premise: higher rankings equal higher revenue. A number 46 player replacing a top 10 star should mean disappointed fans and softer sales. Eala's fanbase has spent the entire 2026 season proving that premise catastrophically wrong. Indian Wells witnessed it first. When Eala's matches were scheduled, resale prices for certain sessions exploded past $1,000. Not for a Serena Williams comeback. Not for a Grand Slam final. For a rising Filipino player fighting through the early rounds. Fans who recognized what was happening early reported seeing baseline ticket listings triple within hours of draw confirmations. Those prices were not driven by tennis rankings. They were driven by something the WTA's economic models had never properly accounted for: a passionate diaspora willing to pay whatever it costs to watch one of their own compete on the biggest stages. Linz confirmed the pattern weeks later. Reports from the tournament indicated that roughly 90% of tickets for Eala's matches were purchased by Filipino fans. Sessions that would normally draw modest midweek attendance became standing room experiences. The Eala army did not just show up. They took over. Monday, Eala listed as Young's replacement. Wednesday, draw released, showing Fernandez in round 1. Friday, Stuttgart's opening weekend sessions. The timeline compression meant one thing. Fans had 72 hours to secure access to what they now recognized as appointment viewing. And if Indian Wells and Linz taught tournament organizers anything, it is that 72 hours is more than enough time for the Eala effect to reshape an event's entire commercial landscape. Steve Flink, a tennis analyst with decades of experience covering the women's tour, framed Eala's rising profile in terms that reach well beyond the rankings. While his comments were not specific to Stuttgart, his observation captures exactly what is unfolding. Emerging players with deep national support are changing how tournaments measure star power. Credentials no longer tell the whole story. Receipts do. The Stuttgart field includes 4 Grand Slam champions and multiple former world number ones. By every traditional measure, Eala should be the least commercially significant player in the draw. But traditional measures have been obsolete since the moment her fans realized they could turn any tournament into a home crowd simply by buying enough tickets faster than everyone else.
Did you see this coming?
Every time you watched her battle through three-set wars against higher-ranked opponents, every time you saw the flags in the stands multiply from one event to the next, you understood what the broader tennis world was too slow to recognize. Rankings measure results. Movements measure something deeper. The draw against Fernandez only amplifies the stakes further. Two left-handers, two players carrying the hopes of Filipino communities, one representing the homeland, the other the diaspora. Philippine sports media has already begun framing it as something far greater than a first-round match. It is a cultural moment, and cultural moments guarantee maximum fan investment. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix carries 47 years of history as a WTA 500 event. Past champions include Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf, and Maria Sharapova. The winner drives away in a Porsche 911 and collects prize money exceeding €160,000. This is not a minor tour stop. It is one of the premier clay events on the entire calendar before Roland Garros arrives. When the tournament's official statement said fans can now look forward to seeing Alexander step in, those 9 words carried a weight the organization likely never intended. Because looking forward is precisely what tens of thousands of Filipino fans have been doing since the announcement dropped, refreshing ticket sites, coordinating travel from across Germany and beyond, and preparing to flood the Porsche Arena the same way they flooded every venue before it. The statement was not an expression of surprise, but it was an acknowledgement of reality. Eala's presence matters to fans in ways that reach far beyond her current ranking. Nike has reported interest in long-term sponsorship discussions. BPI and Globe Telecom have doubled down on their endorsements. Locally, Jollibee and Milo continue leveraging her ambassador status across Southeast Asian markets. The financial ecosystem surrounding Alex Eala is behaving as though she is already a top 10 player, because commercially, she already is. Stuttgart represents the next test case in a pattern that is forcing the WTA to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their ranking system measures individual achievement, but it does not measure market power. And when market power diverges from rankings, the tours and the tournaments follow the money. The clay season is only just beginning. Stuttgart leads directly into Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros, 3 events where ticket demand will face the same stress test if Eala advances. Tournament directors at every one of those stops are paying very close attention to what unfolds in Stuttgart this week. The French Open draw is 6 weeks away. If the Eala effect continues through the entire European clay swing, the commercial implications extend well beyond ticket sales into broadcast rights, sponsor activations, and how the WTA prioritizes scheduling for players sitting outside the top 30. The loss to Ostapenko in Linz stung. Eala led the second set, held genuine chances to force a deciding third, and could not close it out. An early clay exit that dented momentum at the worst possible moment, just as the season's most critical surface stretch was getting underway. She did not post excuses. She did not complain about the draw or the surface transition. Within 48 hours of that defeat, she was on a plane to Stuttgart, preparing for a main draw opportunity that most players ranked 46th in the world never receive. Indian Wells, resale chaos, and $1,000 sessions. Linz, a 90% fan takeover. Stuttgart, a main draw entry announced on April 8th with a first match scheduled 6 days later. The pattern is no longer speculation. It is documented, repeatable, and accelerating. Alex Eala did not simply receive a main draw spot in Germany. She triggered the latest chapter in a story the WTA has been quietly trying to ignore, that a 20-year-old ranked 46th is rewriting the commercial rules of women's tennis one sold-out session at a time. The institutional tennis world measures success in ranking points and titles. But the Eala army measures success in flags flown, tickets secured, and the undeniable proof that their movement is too large to be dismissed. Do the Stuttgart organizers fully understand what is about to hit the Porsche Arena the moment Eala steps on court against Fernandez? Or will they join Indian Wells and Linz on the growing list of tournaments that underestimated what happens when an entire nation shows up? Subscribe now, because if you think Stuttgart is the peak of this story, you have not been paying attention. The clay season runs all the way through Roland Garros, and every European tournament between here and Paris is about to learn the same lesson. Will Eala's fan base send Stuttgart ticket prices into the same stratosphere they reached at Indian Wells? Or will this be the event where the WTA finally admits, openly and without hesitation, that the Eala effect is real? Drop your prediction in the comments.